His words, and people are gonna ask me who I'm talking to. Hello, hello. No?
I'm not here.
Greetings, 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 greetings. Sheem the God. Let me give you a wave and say hello. Hello, hello, hello. So let me do my, oops. I'm always doing something crazy when I touch my phone, and I'm trying really hard not to do that. Bree, hi babe. Dem Chakras, what's going on, beautiful? Hello, hello, hello. Hey Mo. Hi everyone, nice to see you. Oh, thank you very much. Mr. Trey Trey. It's not Marie. Wagwan, wagwan. Oh, it's so nice to see everyone. Hi, guys. Look at it. You're on time. I didn't have to give you a prompt or a reminder. Mr. Anthony Reed. Greetings and good night, Royal Rich King. What's up? What's up? What's up? Dollface Makeup Artistry. Hi. Oh, my goodness. Sending love to everybody. Frank 1586. Nice to see you. Taby3. Nice to see you. Yay. I'm happy that you came. Yeah, I was feeling I'm still feeling not the best or the most fantastic, but I figure, you know what? Y'all deserve, a nice conversation on this Wednesday evening. So I'm here to hang out with you guys for a little bit. See, what's up, Craze Driver? What's going on? What's going on? Mr. Trey Dizzle 83. What's up, everybody? So we're going to give it a couple more minutes for everyone to log on and join in. How was my day? My day was great, Mr. Trey Trey. I don't know. Maybe I'll feel better in a little bit, but my body is doing something a little bit weird right now. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes for some more people to join in. I'm going to lay down the house rules, and then we're going to get started with the discussions of the evening. How is everyone? How was your week? I hope everybody had it. Well, it's not even the week, right? It's like the weekend. How was everybody's weekend? Anthony Reed. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to, keep my teeth. I'm looking good. Mr. Snowman 928, shout out for your birthday. I know you're saying that your birthday is tomorrow, so big up and shout out. More life. Happy Earth Strong. Ahead of schedule. Danny D, Tech the Long Way. What's up? What's up? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Happy to see everyone here. Welcome to Wet Wednesdays with the Pum Pum Chronicles, which is my podcast. Tonight we are covering, which we didn't get to cover last week because the discussion just exploded into a whole other direction, which is great. And I love that when everybody kind of, gets together and ting and ting. Mr. Wright, what's going in? What's going in? What's going in? I feel like I'm up too high. Maybe that's better. Is that better? Is that better? Am I too close? There. Okay, that's better. Okay, so tonight we're covering being in a relationship, knowing that the relationship is really bad for you, but you stay anyway. And we're also going to talk about grooming, to groom or not to groom, and what everyone's thoughts are around manscaping and womanscaping and how much hair to have and, all them good and sexy things. So as always, this is a big people's conversation, adult and grown folks conversation. I don't tolerate disrespect. Not to myself and not to anyone who's participating. So, you can agree to disagree. You can not like someone's opinion. That's fine. Just state it respectfully. Don't go in on anybody. It's fine if you don't agree with what somebody's saying. It's neither here or there. Just be respectful. Mr. Wright, you're feeling sick. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well. Yeah, I was going to cancel out, but I was like, you know what? Let me just drink some water, take a pill, and just push through and, just get through the conversation. So, a couple of weeks ago, my brother had submitted questions to me asking what my thoughts were about being in a relationship with somebody that you know isn't good for you, that you don't want to be in the relationship with the person, but you still stay anyway. I see that happen time and time again. I actually was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine today about a similar thing, because he is having a child with someone that he's not particularly overly fond about having the child with, but nonetheless, they're having this child. And he is contemplating moving in with her. So the way that Canadian laws work, and I don't know how it works in the rest of the world or in the United States of America, within a 6-month period when you live with someone, you become, can you see my eyes? No. We don't do that around here. So within a within a 6-month period, when you live with someone in the household, you become common law to that person. And she desperately wants to be married to him, and he's not interested in doing that, but he's contemplating. My boo Nick just joined in. Hey Nick. He's contemplating moving in with her to be a family example for the child that's coming. And I said to him, you know, if you're not interested in being married to her, you don't have to live with her in order to be a good parent. You don't have to live with her in order to co-parent your child. The problem is, you know, that I don't think that he's understanding, or he's not digesting what I'm saying to him, is that if you move in with her within a 6-month period, she automatically becomes your common law wife, which means she's entitled to half of your everything. So if you're trying to avoid having this woman have wife status to some degree or other, moving in with her is not helping your cause, and it's not going to help that situation. Sorry, I'm just moving this back a little bit because I feel like super close to the screen. You know, so I think it's one of those things where, like, I know that there's a lot of fear around, you know, being by yourself. There's a lot of stigmatism around being a single person past a certain age. You know, I know that people get into relationships and stay in relationships because of loneliness. People get into relationships and stay in relationships because they want to be Mrs. Somebody. I think also, too, people mentally force themselves to stay in situations because somewhere inside of them, they hope or they feel that it will get better based on the amount of time that they've invested in the relationship. Crazed Driver said, it's cheaper to keep her. Child support ain't playing. This is true. Tupac 3736, good evening. What's up? What's up? Thank you for joining us. It's true, and I understand it from a financial perspective that it may be cheaper to stay in the relationship with somebody, but then why make yourself miserable and unhappy? You know, and then that energy that you're trying to, that negative energy or that bad energy translates into your relationship. You know, I don't know any relationship that has successfully worked by staying together for the sake of the child, or being in the relationship for the sake of the child, or doing the right thing for the sake of the child. Those situations never work. Those relationships never work out, because inevitably what happens is you're with someone that you don't respect, you're with someone that you don't trust, you're with someone that you don't even like, you know what I mean? You just have a child together, and that's the commonality between the two of you, or the common ground between the two of you. And then you're out cheating, you're out staying out late at night, you're out doing all these other things because you're unhappy and miserable in the relationship, but you feel like being physically present is enough. Physical presence in a child's life just isn't enough. You know what I mean? Kids can feel when you're unhappy. Kids can see when you're unhappy. They sense it, they know it, even at a young age. You know, my question then is, why would you want to do that kind of emotional damage to anyone? Why would you want to do that kind of emotional damage to yourself? You know, people have this fear about being alone, like, you know, you're not the pariah of society, that you're not the leper of society because you're not in a relationship with someone. I personally feel like it's better to be alone and take time with yourself and spend time with yourself, getting to know yourself, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, than to be in a relationship with someone just to say that you're in a relationship with someone. You know, I've been at the nail salon getting my nails done, and I've heard girls bragging about, you know, their relationship, like they hate their baby father, but, you know, at least they're with their baby father, or, you know, they want to be married just because they want to be Mrs. Somebody and they want to rock a ring and all that sort of stuff. To me, that's just crazy. It's not healthy for anyone. You're absolutely right. Crazed Driver, child support can make you unhappier. Pick the lesser of being miserable. Child support or barely make it. Everyone's financial status is not the same. This is true, but that doesn't mean that she can't take you to court while you're in a relationship. I know women who have taken their significant other to court while they're in a relationship, and that person is obligated to pay whatever the child support agreement is while they're still in that relationship. Because you're with someone doesn't guarantee that you're not going to pay child support. Make no mistake about that. If you're in a relationship with a woman and she's unhappy because she feels like she's not getting what she wants, or she feels like she's going to keep you in some kind of way, or she feels like she's going to prevent you from going out there and doing things because she's going to control your money, she will take you to court while you're in that relationship. And she will get child support from you while you guys are still in a relationship. And there's not a fucking thing that you can do about it at all. So, you know, convincing yourself that it's cheaper to keep her or it's cheaper to stay in the relationship, that to me doesn't make any sense. And a court is not going to force you to pay child support that's beyond your means. It's called you will pay, one way or the other, right? A court can't make you, like, okay, so when you go to court to file for child support, now we're going way off topic, but when you go to court to file for child support, they base your child support on your income and what you prove or provide as documentation for your income. They don't just base it on some sort of a random number, right? If she can show proof that you're making a certain amount of money within the relationship and she's making less than you, she can get child support while you guys are still together. But regardless, you know, so let's take children out of the equation and just people who are in relationships just for the sake of being with somebody, whether it's to have a physical body beside them, whether it's, you know, because they don't want to be lonely, whether or not it's because, you know, they want to say that they belong to someone or whatever the case may be. You have a lot of people who are in relationships for the wrong reasons, and it's primarily fear of loneliness. And then on the flip side of that is people just want to belong to someone so that they're not out of some kind of weird loop of, like, the relationship loop. You know, past a certain age, they don't want to be looked at as, like, you know, something is wrong with them because they're not in a relationship. You know, you have women who pass a certain age, you know, if they're not in a relationship, something's wrong with them, they can't hold a man. Or you have men past a certain age, something is wrong with them because they can't keep a woman. That's not the case, you know. For me personally, I'd rather you be single and be better mentally and emotionally than to be in a relationship with someone that you're unhappy with, just to say that you're in a relationship, you know. Sadly and unfortunately, I think mostly women do it. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but because we're such emotional creatures, women will try their damnedest to make a relationship work, even when they know it's failing miserably, especially if they've invested a lot of time in the relationship, because they've invested a lot of time in the relationship. That's just foul. Paying child support when in a relationship, either we are together without or not with the child support. I completely understand, but the reality is that it does happen. The reality is that you have some individuals who, for whatever their reasons are, they just feel like it's better to get what they can get out of the man while he's in the relationship, while they can force his hand, and essentially force him to stay, than to just allow the person to go. The truth is, you have women who get pregnant to try to keep a man. You have women who get into situations where they have a baby to try to keep a man, and the man decides he's not staying, right? And men do the same thing. You have men who try to get a woman pregnant to try to keep her where she is, which is with him, even if she doesn't want to be. Thanks, Nick. You make me blush. And that's a sad reality. Like, I mean, it works both ways. I think there are more women who try to trap men than the other way around. Listen, sir, Mr. Trey. You have more women who try to trap men, I feel, and keep them in relationships or keep them in situationships because of the child, than men who try to trap women by getting them pregnant. Regardless, you know, you have people who try to keep people in these relationships because it's what they want, not necessarily what the other person wants. And however you say it, however you cut it, however you slice it and you dice it, it's wrong. You know, nothing can make a person stay except that person wanting to stay, whether they're doing it for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. And especially if their heart isn't in it, it's pointless. You know, what is the point of going forward in a relationship that you're miserable in? And that's one of the things that I never understand. People would rather suffer in a relationship and be miserable than be by themselves, rediscover themselves, learn self-love, you know, practice self-care, than they would rather be miserable in a relationship than to do the alternative, because somehow in society it's seen as a really bad thing past a certain age if you're single. Like, I feel like after 35, if you're a single man or a single woman, it's like there's a stigmatism that's automatically attached to you that something is wrong with you because you're not in a relationship. You know, oh, you're not married, what's wrong with you? Or you're not in a relationship, what's wrong with you? You know, Trey Shaw, it admits failure. What admits failure? Right. Oh, not being in a successful relationship admits failure? Come type fast. I don't know what you're saying. Okay. Anyways, so, oh, there we go. The Steeped in Romance pod. I think it's important to find your inner happiness, because a relationship won't supplement that happiness. You can't expect someone else to give you that happiness if you don't love yourself. Absolutely. Giving up in the relationship is considered failure. You know, and these are the misconceptions that people have. It's like, there's a difference between fighting for a successful relationship or fighting for a relationship that both of you feel is worth it, and fighting for the relationship because, there's misunderstandings, there's a learning curve, there's that gap where you're trying to get into some sort of a rhythm. There's a difference between that and then being in a relationship that's like a sinking ship that is absolutely not working out. The Pum Pum Chronicles is a new Playboy magazine but podcast. Keep it up. Sorry, but gotta go tonight. Good night, C. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining in. I don't know the new Playboy magazine podcast. That's kind of nice, I think. Except there's no Playboy bunnies. Well, me, I guess. That reminds me. So, totally off topic. This past weekend, I was in Philadelphia for the Art of Bondage, which was on Saturday night. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, that event was phenomenal. It was put on by Erotic Boudoir. That was an event, the event of events. There were burlesque performers. There was a performance by Sir Dashington from Erotic Ropes by Dash. There was a Q&A period and a live demonstration with some of the audience members. There was alcohol. There was food. Like, the food was phenomenal. That was provided by a wonderful chef whose name is Lena. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the young ladies who provided the bar service, but they had a drink that they created called the Pink Pussy. It was absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, on Sunday, I went to the Sex Expo with the ladies from Erotic Boudoir, and I rode the mechanical bunny or the electronic bunny or the motorized bunny, something or other, that presses against your clit and it vibrates. Yeah, that was the best orgasm that I had the whole entire weekend, and that was on a machine in public. But anyways, I just had to throw that in there for. So Erotic Boudoir, to Nick and AJ, thank you for a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic weekend. I had a great time in Philadelphia. Anyhow, we digress. So back to the question about relationships and staying in relationships, past the point where they aren't working and why people stay in them. And really and truly, again, Mr. Jose, right? You got a phone call at a random time? That's okay. T. Isaiah, what's up? Good to see you. People stay in relationships for a lot of reasons. A lot of the reasons why people stay in the relationships are not good reasons. People stay in relationships for fear, for fear of being alone. As Steeped in Romance, it said, I know that it's a difficult concept for people to grasp sometimes, but it really is better to be alone than to be in a relationship where you're miserable and unhappy. And that's something that I could never understand. Why would you be with someone when you feel alone than to just be by yourself and be alone and work on you and work on your happiness? A lot of people are stuck in a place of not understanding self-love. A lot of people are stuck in a place of not understanding self-care. And part of self-care is protecting your energy and not waking up every day feeling miserable because you're in a relationship with someone who really and truly doesn't make you happy. How long was I in Philly? I was there for 5 days, and yes, I very much enjoyed myself. I had a fantastic time, actually. And I understand the fear piece, of being alone and the stigmatism that's attached, especially if you're, like I said, if you're over 35 and you're single. People seem to have this misconception that, something is wrong with you, or you can't hold a man, or you can't hold a woman, or you're a failure of some kind because you haven't achieved success in this particular relationship. But as I said before, there's a difference between fighting for a relationship that is truly worth it because you're both fighting for the same thing, as opposed to being in a relationship where you're fighting every day because that that's not where you're supposed to be, and one of the two people are holding on desperately and the other person is fighting against it. Mr. Wright, it makes no sense to feel alone while romantically involved. Exactly. But that's the thing about it, that I wouldn't even call being romantically involved, because at that point, if you're arguing so much and you're that miserable and being in a relationship with a person, there's no romance to that. You're just a body that's in a relationship with another body. You're not connected, and you're not connecting on any kind of romantic level. Either that or one person is absolutely in love with the other person, but the other person just isn't present in the relationship, But again, I know people who stay in situations, like, look how many of us know older couples who have been married for, 20, 30, 40 years. They don't get along. They don't really talk. But because they have history together, because they have children together, because of all these external factors, and because so much time has gone by, they stay, Probably about 5 years ago, I met this young lady, and we become friends and we become acquainted, and I would see her parents from time to time. And then one day, I would see her and I stopped seeing her parents. So I asked her how her folks were, and she told me that her parents had gotten divorced, at this point, her parents had been married for almost 40 years. And when I asked her, I was completely floored, right? Because I'm thinking, like, after 40 years, where the fuck are you going? Like, you just stay. Hey, April Daniel, what's going on? Nice to see you. I figured after 40 years, you just stay. And she said, honestly, my mom left my dad because she was unhappy. And she's been unhappy for the better part of 40 years. She just stayed because of us. And she said that she had a conversation with her mom and said, you know, honestly, at this point, like, we're all grown. We don't live at home. It's just you and dad. And if you're unhappy, why are you staying there? And her mom's reasons were, you know, like, well, we had to raise the kids, and now your dad's older, and I feel guilty. And after talking to her mom, you know, her mom got up the strength to actually leave that relationship. And this is bad, the bad part, and pursue a relationship with a man that she'd been secretly seeing for like 15 years. You know, that's one of the bad things that happens in these situations, is that the person that's in the relationship that they don't want to be in, they're oftentimes in love with somebody else. But because, like I said, you know, there's kids, there's history, there's time, there's finances, all these things wrapped up into this relationship that they don't want to be in, they stay regardless, and they have somebody that's on the side, and that person is waiting to love them properly and to be in a relationship with them and to do all those kind of things. You know, life is too short. You have people who are dropping down at the drop of a dime. You know, you don't know when your time is going to come or not come. And there's no guarantee that you have the next 10 or 15 years to wait for that ideal person to come along, or stay in this shitty situation while on the quiet you're talking to somebody else and waiting for things to become more ideal so you can be with that person. There's no guarantees about those kind of things. There's no guarantees at all. Mr. Chris Broadway, good evening. Life is entirely too short. You know, you need to do the things that make you happy. And part of that is people who need to learn that being alone is okay. You know, stop allowing people to make you feel like something's wrong with you because you're not in a successful relationship. Be in a fucking successful relationship with yourself. Be in a successful relationship with yourself. Do you love yourself enough? Do you spend enough time with yourself? Do you even know what loving yourself looks like? You know what I mean? Do you take care of yourself? And when I say take care of yourself, do you take care of your mental and physical and emotional well-being? Do you take yourself on a date? Do you even know the things that you like that are not related to somebody else? Do you know the things that make you happy outside of being in a relationship with someone else? You know what I mean? Learn to be in a successful relationship with yourself before you're so concerned about being in a relationship with another person. You know, take time to love yourself. Take time to learn yourself. When you were in your 20s is not the same as when you were in your 30s, and when you're in your 30s is not the same as when you're in your 40s. You know, if you don't know what those transitional pieces are for yourself, if you don't know what those pieces are about loving yourself, how can you expect anyone to stay in a relationship with you? And how can you expect to have a successful relationship with anyone when you don't know those things? You know, you don't even know what makes you happy. So how can you teach another person what makes you happy? How can you teach another person to love you? You can't walk into a relationship and expect that the person is just going to know, or they're just going to at some point in time fall into it and figure it out or whatever. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's like knowing your body and knowing the things that please you. You know, help that person learn how to make you feel better. Help that person learn how to love you. If there's something that you don't like, or something that makes you feel good, or something that makes you feel bad, or, you know, you should be able to communicate that to the person. It shouldn't be, you know, a guessing game and guesswork. And honestly, a lot of times that's why relationships fall apart. It's like people are in this bubble of euphoria in the first 3 to 6 months, and like, oh my God, I'm so in love, and oh my God, I'm so in love, and this is going to work. And then all kind of stupidness and things happen. And then what ends up happening when the lights actually go on and the bubble gets popped, and you're in that moment where you're realizing, you know, I don't like the way that person chews. Can I see myself in a relationship with a person for the next 20 years based on the fact that they chew with their mouth open? And as many times as I told him that I don't like it, he still continues to do it. You have one of two choices. You either accept that that's how the person is and you move on and you live with it, or you say, you know what, there's a bunch of things right here that I don't really think that I can deal with, you know, and you move on. The problem is people feel like it's that other person's responsibility to change because they don't like certain things that the person is doing. It doesn't work that way. Everyone is obligated to themselves to either be themselves, and you accept and meet the person where they are and understand that that's how the person is, or you choose not to. Nobody can make you change. The only people change because they want to change, not because someone's bullying them or trying to beat them over the head about it. It just doesn't work that way. Mr. Jose Wright, no one is a mind reader on site. You should understand who you are so that you can communicate what you need to in order for the person to love you properly. Exactly. Say that part again. People feel automatically like relationships are easy. Relationships are beautiful, but relationships are work. They're not always easy. There are moments where you jive and you guys are ebbing and flowing like a well-oiled machine. And then there are some times where the cogs jump out of place and there's friction, you know, as you're trying to get the cogs back into place, where they start to run like a well-oiled machine. And that's just the reality of any relationship. There, you know, good relationships, I would say it's like a 90 to 10 ratio, where 90% of the time is really, really great and 10% of the time you're arguing and fighting, but not with the expectation that there's going to be an end result. It's more so about ironing out those kinks and getting those cogs back into place. And that's the reality of healthy relationship. There are going to be times where you don't see eye to eye. There are going to be times where the other person pisses you off. But if that arguing and that pissing off is an everyday thing, where the ratio becomes 10% of the time it's a really great relationship and 90% of the time it's really shitty and we're arguing, you need to reevaluate while you're in the relationship with that person. If it comes down to it that you're just with the person because you've been there so long, or you're just with the person because it's comfortable, or you're just with the person because you know them and you know you don't really feel like starting over again, those are shitty reasons to be in a relationship, and those are shitty reasons to keep somebody in a relationship with you. Mr. Jose Wright, they take a determined work ethic. People don't see relationships as a job, and I just don't understand why not. Like, that's probably, outside of parenting, being in a relationship with another adult will probably be the hardest job that you'll ever have in your life. And it takes daily effort. There are some things that come naturally, much like with any job, you know, where after a 3-month probation, you've learned the ins and outs and the inner workings of the job. But the second that they change something in the manual, or you have to be retrained in something, that's like a relationship, you know? Sometimes things don't always go the way that they're supposed to go, or sometimes things don't go the way that you think that they're supposed to go. And there are hiccups and bumps along the way, you know? Does that mean you throw away the whole relationship? Again, no. You know, you just need to do a reevaluation, or you need to be on top of assessing the relationship and making sure that this is where you're supposed to be. Again, if you're in a relationship where 10% of the time you're happy and 90% of the time, like 90% of the time, you're really and truly miserable, that's not a relationship that you should be in. Not because you've invested years, not because you've invested time, not because you've invested finances, not even because you have children. You know, people think that they're doing something really wonderful for kids by staying in a relationship because they've got a kid. Believe me, speaking from a place of knowing and understanding, I can't say that I'm a single parent because our kids had both their parents. We just weren't together anymore. I'm not even sure what that's called. We were effectively co-parenting. You know, we did the stay together for a little while for the sake of the kids, and we were miserable, which translated into our kids being miserable. Kids are astute. They are smart, they are perceptive, and they know, you know, mommy, how come you're not kissing daddy? Daddy, how come you're not kissing mommy? Daddy, how come you're not holding mommy's hand? Mommy, how come you're not holding, you know, daddy's hand? Mommy, how come you haven't shared dinner for daddy, but you only share dinner for us? Kids pick up on things all the time, you know, and after a while you have to have a conversation with them to say, like, this isn't working for us. How can we effectively co-parent our kids? So speaking from a place of understanding, speaking from a place of having done that, not even having kids should be a reason why you stay miserable in a relationship, because you're going to end up damaging them as well. Nail junkies. It damages the kids because it teaches them the wrong way to love and be loved. Say that part again. Mr. Holowitz, right. Granted, me being me, LOL, I don't see relationship as work necessarily, because by then I truly love the person I'm involved with, yet though it isn't a job for me, it still takes work. However you cut it, being in a relationship is work. It just is, because it's like, yes, you may have a rhythm with the person, you know, but you and I are in a relationship together and I'm having an off day and I just don't feel like talking, where I'm used to being usually a chatterbox and whatever the case may be. So like, you know, we're at home now, I'm moody, I'm miserable, I don't feel like talking to you, and that's not my norm, you know. It will take effort and work for you to get me out of that space, or to get me into a headspace where I will talk to you, right? And to let you know what's going on and to let you in, and so on and so forth. It's always work. Every relationship, I don't care who the relationship is with, if you're in a healthy and loving relationship, regardless, there is work to be done. Because things are not always going to be the way that you think that they are, or the person is not always going to play out the way that you think that they do. Just because you've learned somebody doesn't mean that their behavior or their patterns can't change. You know what I mean? We're human beings. We evolve, we change, we grow, we learn. Things are not always the same. The way that, like, it's like your taste buds, from like, say, 12 to 18, you love French fries. Then you hit 19, you're like, you know what? I don't really like fries anymore. Like now I'm into baked potatoes. And nothing that you can do can make that person eat a French fry again because they're into baked potatoes. Not because a person was a particular type of way for such a long period of time doesn't mean that that person can change. And that happens in relationships all the time. Okay, so Mr. Jose, right, you said me being me, if you have an off day, I'll find some way to make you smile. But that's still work. And that's what I'm saying. That's still work. You thinking of creative methods to get me out of that headspace, you thinking of creative methods, that's all work. You understand what I'm saying to you? Relationships are not just easy peasy where it's just smooth sailing and the stuff that you see in the movies where people are holding hands and skipping through the daisies. Relationships are work. If there's anything that you have to do to make a little bit more of an effort in order to get me to a certain place or to get me to smile or whatever, it takes effort, and effort is work. It's not always a monumental amount of work where you're arguing and trying to get back to a place of peace and happiness. Sometimes it's the small things, like trying to get me to smile, trying to get me to laugh, trying to make me feel a little bit better so I'm not stuck in my head. It's still work. It's still work. So anyways, back to the main point at hand. Again, people stay in relationships for a number of different reasons. This particular discussion was centered around why people stay in relationships as long as they do when they know that the relationship isn't working for them. And again, I think honestly, the majority of what it boils down to is fear. People have a fear of being alone, especially if you've been with the person a really long time. People have a fear of starting over. I've heard people say that it's better to stick with the evil that you know. People will stay in shitty situations for a very, very long time because it's easier to know what that person's bad behaviors are than to have to work with someone new and start to learn all over again what, if any, that new person's bad behaviors are. You have people who stay in relationships where they know the person that they're with is cheating on them left, right, and center. But again, they stay because they know the person is cheating on them left, right, and center. But they also know that that person comes home every day. They also know that every night that person is in the house. They also know that that person is not going to leave them stranded. They also know that that person, at the end of the day cares about their well-being to some degree or other, and they're not going to, leave them suffering in some sort of way. People have all kinds of reasons why they rationalize being in relationships that are bad for them. People have all kinds of reasons where they rationalize why staying in a relationship, makes sense to them. Mr. Gone 914, what's up? Good evening. They stay in all kinds of situations for the wrong reasons. I honestly feel like the majority of that is women. Again, because we're emotional creatures and we have this mentality that because we've invested a certain amount of time in a person, because we've invested a certain amount of time in the relationship, we're owed. It's bad. We're owed that relationship. One of my very good friends, whose name I'm not going to say, was in a situation where, he no longer wanted to be in that situation. I had said to him, but how do you know that she's done? And he said that he doesn't really. And I said, okay, when you look at all the things that are going on around you and you look at the way that she interacts with you and the look of the way she engages with you, does that say to you that on some level or other, she's still trying? And I think when he breaks it down, yeah, I would say so. She's not particularly happy about the relationship, but if it's a matter of saying, okay, well, she's invested 2 years or 3 years, or she's waited all this time to be with him, if she had to choose between letting him go and losing him and not being with anybody at the age that she's at, she would choose staying with him. And for me personally, that's just something that I can't understand. I did that when my young people were much younger, and in struggling to stay in the relationship. And I woke up one day and I realized, for the sake of appearances and the sake of making everybody else happy and all these kind of things, I can't do that because I want my children to grow up healthy and happy. I wanted our children to grow up healthy and happy. And, at the time when I made the decision to not stay in that marriage anymore, oh my God, I got it from everybody. What's wrong with you? You're going to be a single mother. What's wrong with you? No one's going to take a woman with 2 small children. What's wrong with you? Just deal with it. We're women. We have a cross to bear. Like, all these fucking just bullshit reasons from like the elder women in my family, because these are women who have stayed in shitty situations because that's just what you do. You know what I mean? I have aunties who have, you know, their husbands have whole other families, but they feel like because they're wife and because they have wife status, somehow that puts them on top. Nah, sis, it doesn't work that way. Angie Young 75. Yes, we as women do feel entitled after we've invested time and emotion. I agree. Nail junkies, mommy can be happy at her house and daddy can be happy at his house. I completely agree with that, you know. And like I always tell people, one of the reasons why my young adults are so well adjusted is because we decided, we understood that staying in that relationship for the sake of the kids wasn't doing anybody any good. I was unhappy, he was unhappy, you know. And again, kids are really smart. They pick up on those kind of things, and they'll ask questions like, you know, mommy, how come you and daddy don't sleep in the same bed? How come every time I wake up, daddy's on the couch and you're in the bedroom? You know, there's only so many times that you can say, oh, daddy was really tired, he just fell asleep on the couch watching TV. You know, there's only so many times that you can give kids excuses before they actually pick up on what's happening. And what starts to happen is that all that negativity that is surrounding your kids starts to manifest in other ways. So they start acting out at school. They start, you know, acting out with one another. So whereas before they would share, you know, toys, they would share food, now they're starting to display selfish behaviors. You know, they're at school picking fights with kids. They're not doing their homework. Like, all these things start to happen because we think we're doing the right thing and staying in the relationship for the sake of the kids, when really and truly we're just doing more damage. Nail junkies, kids see the effect on each parent and it carries into adulthood and creates these negative patterns. True. Dollface makeup artistry, fuck all of that. Ain't no way, because staying for the kids benefits no one. I completely agree. I absolutely agree. You know, again, on a global scale, even when you take kids out of the equation, staying in relationships where you're not happy just for the sake of, you know, oh my God, I introduced him to my mom, my whole family's met him, so what am I going to do now? Just break up with him? Yes, bitch. Break up with him. You know what I mean? Or for the man, it'd be like, you know, I took Shorty around my mom's and my mom's love her and my aunt loves her, but me and her, we don't see eye to eye and we're not getting along. You know, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Drop her. Move on and make yourself happy. Like, people don't invest enough in their own happiness, which is bizarre to me. It isn't, because I mean, it took me a long time to learn that as well. But you have to invest in your own happiness, and please believe me when I tell you, staying in a relationship for the sake of appearances or staying in a relationship to keep up with the Joneses is only going to make you more miserable. Miserable. You know what I mean? I've seen it play out in my life. I've seen it play out in the lives of my friends and so on and so forth. And it's really funny because when you talk to my daughter and my son, they will tell you, like, yes, my parents aren't together, but my parents had a great relationship and they co-parented us and raised us together, you know, because I feel like for us, it took that, like, we got together when we were so young that we didn't know enough about ourselves, much less, you know, how to make each other happy. And we grew up and grew apart because we became different people as we became adults. You know, we met before I was 21, you know, so it's like, as you're learning and you're growing, you're trying to figure out yourself, and at the same time trying to figure out this person that you're in this long-term relationship with, or that you're married to, you know, and trying to figure out all the pieces that fit. Then you got kids thrown into mix and all this sort of stuff. And then, you know, there's this expectation like, well, you just stay married because this is what marriage is about. No, it's not. It's not. You know, please believe that it really and truly is not. Because you started out in a relationship with a person, it doesn't mean that you have to hate the person. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, you're a failure. It doesn't mean like any of those bad and negative things. It just means that you've gotten to a point where you understand what it is that you want for yourself and what it is that you want in a relationship and what it is that you want out of a life partner. And unfortunately, the person that you're currently with is not any of those things. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make that other person a bad person. It just means that you're not meant for one another, right? Mr. Jose, right? That's why I'm single now. LOL. Wisdom split us up via mutual agreement. You know, that's what it is sometimes. But again, you know, you have people on the other side of it who choose to be in relationships because at wild, I don't understand. Oh, the person that's wild drive pinalas. I don't think it's English. I'm not sure what asking cancer means, but regardless. So we're gonna move on to the next topic, which is talking about dun, 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 grooming. To groom or not to groom, and body hair. So, boy, I am not a fan of body hair. Okay, so and it's a really weird thing. So I don't shave my legs. let me just let me just put that out there. I don't shave my legs. However, as I was told earlier today, the hairs on my leg are there's so few of them, and they're so fine that nobody even notices that they're there. But kill me dead, I have no hair on my vagine, and I have no hair under my armpits. I don't grow hair on my chest. I know that some women, they do in them kind of things, but no, you have to groom. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, please, you have to groom. And I know there's this whole movement about accepting your natural body hair and the vagina hair for growing, underarm hair for growing, all them things there. But me personally, I don't like to see it on myself. I don't like to see it on anybody else. Yeah, no. My legs I can deal with, right? You know what I mean? Dollface makeup artistry. My legs I can deal with because, again, you would have to be up close with a magnifying glass and even then tilt my legs, rock my legs back and forth to see the leg hair. But trust and believe, if you could see my leg hair, if they were like roly-poly or super long, like you could braid them, those bitches would have to they'd have to get waxed or shaved or something. I just, for me, I don't like it, I've been on the beach where I've seen women with like their pom-pom hair sticking out on the side, and I feel like I want to, I don't know. Like, and it's not, okay, so for me personally, I can't say that it's something that where it's a societal thing, because since I was a little kid, from probably, I think I started shaving my legs probably when I was about like 10 or 11 years old, just because I never liked seeing hair on my body. I didn't like seeing hair under my armpits. I started to notice that, hair on your body holds odor, and no matter how much you wash, no matter how much deodorant you use, no matter how much perfume you use, the reality is hairs trap odor. And I know that there's a whole debate about, well, hair is meant to protect and it's the body's way of doing this, the body's way of doing that. Listen to me, from ancient Egyptian times, people were sugaring and waxing off their hair. Back then it was for very different reasons because of lice and all that sort of stuff. But from them times, people were sugaring and waxing off their hair because it just, I personally think it's unhygienic. Hold on, let me scroll up. Oops. It shouldn't be a requirement where people feel uncomfortable, but yes, wax it off. Yep, no body hair. Yeah. So I want to ask, like with the men, how do men feel about manscaping? And then how do they feel about a woman who has hair? Because I know guys who, laziness has prevented me from grooming. So I've got a little bit of stubble, He and I are in one and two things. It's about to go down. He wants to go down on me and, suck on the mango and do all them good things there. And I'm saying to him, I have stubble, like there's hair there. And he's like, seriously? Like, how much hair could you possibly have that's going to prevent me from eating your pussy? But for me, even having stubble, like a little bit of stubble, I feel uncomfortable just for myself. You know what I mean? I don't like... I feel like no matter how clean you are, having extra hair down there prevents you from being like really, really clean, right? And it's not to say that you have to be super bald so it looks like, a 12-year-old vagina. I get that some people don't like that. They've got like a little landing strip. I'm more so talking about like the underneath part. I will tell you. Yeah, suck on the mango. You think laser surgery or to permanently take off hair off the body is safe or should do? I know people who do get laser surgery, like even as people of color or black people, and they're very content with it. You do have to find someone that specializes in black skin or for people of color, because I've heard that laser surgery is not the same between us and, people who lack pigmentation or lack melanin. So it's a matter of finding somebody who knows how to work with people with color or melanin in their skin. But yeah, I don't personally like hair underneath. Even for men, there is, listen to me, y'all. You can add a half an inch to an inch to your length and to your life if you were to get rid of the bush that surrounds your penis. Okay? I am telling you this from experience. When you have that bush down there, first of all, if the woman is giving you head and she wants to deep throat or she wants to do all them sexy things there, seeing the bush alone is going to restrict her from going that far, because honestly, no one's trying to get a mouthful of hair. I'm not trying to pull hair out of my teeth. I'm not trying to pull hair from the back of my tongue. I'm not trying to pull hair off my tongue ring. I'm not trying to feel that tickle the back of my throat. If I'm giving head, all I want to feel is dick in the back of my throat. I don't want to feel all that extra bullshit. Cut the shrub, the tree looks longer. You see it there? That's what I'm talking about. Like, even when you look at, okay, so let's talk about like physical landscaping when you're outside, right? When you see a tree growing and you see all kind of bush around it, right? The second you cut that bush and you see the length of the tree, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Think of your penis the same way. Men, you need to manscape. In this day and age, I was about to say 1999. What year is it? We're 2019. In 2019, there is nothing sexy about having a full bush that's braidable around your penis. You know what I mean? Again, there are stereotypes and stigmatisms attached to manscaping or to grooming, or men even going to go get waxed or using like the Nair strips or using hair remover. Fuck all that. Do yourself a favor. Do your lady a favor, get rid of the bush, trim the verge. And it's not even to say like you have to trim it so that it's completely bald, but at least just trim that shit down a little bit, please. It's unpleasant. It's unpleasant. And as much as you think it's sexy and it's manly, it also smells. That I don't care how much you've washed, there's still that odor of ball sweat that gets trapped in there, and it's not pleasant. It's like that odor of vagine, eau de vagine, that gets stuck in your vagina hairs. Like, it's pum-pum hair is not cute. Pum-pum hair. Not a couple of days ago, yes, while I was, in Philadelphia. So I'm looking at this porn, and I'm watching the woman, and I'm looking, I'm like, what's between her legs? Listen to me. One time I realized that was all her roly-poly hair that looked like cracked pepper, like the pepper grain them. Nah, boss, there's nothing cute about that. I don't give a fuck who it is. There's nothing sexy about it. But you could also tell by the way that the man was like licking her pom-pom. It's like he was doing it to kind of hurry up and get her wet and get over it. It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute at all. Men's hair grows back faster. It may or may not. 10 inches, but 12 when you shave. That's great to know. Trey Shaw. See, Angie Young is agreeing with you. Cut the shrubs, the tree looks taller. Trust me. Do yourself a favor and groom. But it's true. It looked like crap. Listen to me. You all know. You know when they have the pepper mill and you look inside the pepper mill and it's got a little pepper grains? That's what it looked like was on the whole of her front. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if I was a bisexual woman, or if I was a lesbian, or even if I was a dude, if I happened to be in a man's body, there's no way in hell I would put my mouth on that, because this is my thought, right? That's going to scratch my lip. That's going to scratch my lip, and that's going to cut my lip, and then I'm going to be pissed. That's what I'm thinking as I'm watching. Like, I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't get into it, like nothing, because all I'm thinking is like, does that scratch his mouth when his face is like, ew. So anyways, grooming. We're grown folks, right? Lip abrasions and the whole nines. Sorry, I got lost in the comments there for a second. But yeah, groom. It's not. And again, I know some people are anti-cutting the hair, and because the hair is natural, you're supposed to grow it, and God gave us hair in our body and all them things there. But God also gave us free will. God also gave us choice. And you should choose to groom. It's not to say that you have to go but just trim it down a little bit. Like, there's nothing sexy about ball hair. There's nothing sexy about a mouthful of hair, whether it's a man or if it's a woman. Again, if I'm giving you head as a woman, I want to be able to access as much of your penis as I possibly can. And that doesn't include 2 inches of hair. Like, honestly, for all the guys that are here that have joined us tonight, right? If you've ever groomed and you've shaved down, don't you notice that your penis looks a little bit longer when you get rid of, like, there's like a whole extra inch that appears out of nowhere because you trimmed down the hair. Do yourself a favor, do your ladies a favor, trim the verge. Again, it's not to say that you have to shave it till it's bald, because I know that itches when it grows back in, but just cut that shit down, man. There's nothing sexy or cute about it. The same with the ladies. Again, you don't have to get rid of all your vag hair. Just at the very least, you know what I mean? Get rid of the bikini line. If you don't want to, if you feel like you have to have some hair on your front because you don't want your pom-pom to look like it's a 12-year-old vagina, that's fine. Keep a landing strip, you know what I mean? Cut it into a design, cut it into a heart, cut it into a triangle, do it, but just cut down some of it. There's nothing sexy about that in any way, shape, or form. Sorry. Yes, it looked like cracked pepper. I know I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's okay. Yes, it's like, ta-da, magic. Like, all of a sudden, there's extra penis. Listen to me. Whew. It's warm. You got me all excited in here talking about this. So, I feel like the consensus is for most of the viewers or for most of our listeners this evening is that, yeah, grooming is definitely the way. Our bodies sweat and our bodies carry odor, and the hairs trap that odor, and the hairs trap the sweat. And I don't care how much you wash, I don't care what type of products you wash with, there's just something that never goes away with that smell when you have body hair. So anybody who doesn't, look, hey, let's take your armpits just as an experiment, okay? If you've never shaved your armpits, just as an experiment, shave your armpits and use your deodorant, and tell me in a week's time, next week when we come back to this discussion, tell me if you don't see that there's a difference. Tell me if you don't see that there's a difference. T. Isaiah, do you think hair removal cream is safe for either gender? It is, you know what I mean? There are cautionary warnings on the hair removals, like, especially for women, like, make sure that it doesn't go underneath or anywhere near the lips. Like, you can use it externally. For men, it's a little bit easier because you guys don't really have any orifices that are going to absorb anything, and you're certainly not putting the cream close enough to your asshole that it's going to be an issue. But those kind of creams are safe, and they actually are more controllable because they usually come with like a little plastic scraper. So even if you wanted to do a design, it's basically just following the instructions on the package. So, you know what I mean? Like, just cream away what you don't want there. First of all, hold on. If you've got like 2 inches of growth, trim it down first, save yourself some headache, because then it'll be more manageable. Then use the hair removal cream, and you can use it in a controlled way. Again, you also don't have to leave it on for that long, but there are instructions that come with it where I think it's like you leave it on for maybe 3 or 4 minutes or something like that, and it helps to just remove the hair. The only problem is, I will say, when you take all of the hair off, like, it grows back a little bit finer, but it's also going to be itchy when it grows back, depending on your curl pattern, or if you have a curl pattern, your hairs may grow back straight. I don't know. But hair removal creams are effective, and once you start to use them, like once the hairs grow back, they start to grow back thinner. Waxing is also effective. I know that women prefer more so to get waxed because it kind of just gets rid of everything one time, and there's no odor with the waxing. And also, too, with sugaring and waxing, your hair starts to grow back thinner each time that you do it. But honestly, yeah, past a certain age, there's no excuse why you should have a whole entire bush down there. And like, if you and I are in a dating situation and you've got like a whole forest happening down there, I'm going to ask you very politely to go trim it first before anything's happening. Because as much as I enjoy giving head, I'm not sucking dick with 2 inches of hair attacking my throat. Like, I want the extra 2 inches of penis, not 2 inches of hair. Pretty simple. Anyhow. Do ladies think it's feminine if a man uses hair removal cream? I don't think that there's any judgment here. I don't think that... My whole thing is, who's going to know that you're using hair removal cream? It's not like she's in the bathroom with you when you're manscaping and doing all the things that you need to do. But it's true, if you want to use hair removal cream, absolutely, by any means, go ahead. Who's going to know but you? And I think, honestly, in this day and age, women, we care less about that kind of thing and more about the fact that you actually even made the attempt to groom. That's, I think, we would probably more appreciate that you just did it at all. What about cracked hair? Oh, girl, I can't even get into the chest hair business. I years ago dated a man who used to have to shave because he had chest hair, he had shoulder hair. I'm not a particular fan of like men that have an abundance of chest hair. Some people love it. It's not my thing. Even for that, like I would ask him to kind of like you've got the machines that can thin out your hair as opposed to getting rid of it completely, because there's some men who feel like chest hair makes them more masculine, and I get that. I'm not a particular fan of it, but if he has chest hair and it's not again the roly poly, pepper green, cracked pepper looking type of deal, I can deal with that. For me, my issues are underarm hair. My primary issues are underarm hair and hair in the genital area. Lord, I forgot. I was going to say the vaginal area, but I forgot we're talking about men as well. So, Isaiah, my boys have told me they have and they use it. Absolutely. Again, it's about your level of comfort. It's about you grooming for yourself. And for the pleasure of the person that you're involved in the relationship with, or the person that you're just going to fuck, or whatever the case may be, right? Nobody's in the bathroom with you when you're using those products. If you feel like you want to try it, by all means. My only caution is that make sure you read the instructions carefully before you tackle anything. Anyhow, we are running out of time. I'm going to thank everyone for being here for Wet Wednesdays and for joining this live. I appreciate all of you. Tomorrow is the new drop of an episode on YouTube where I'm doing an interview with Tiggle Biddies, and then also tomorrow will be a new drop of a podcast episode. So look out for that. I am currently on Apple Podcasts, Apple iTunes Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Anchor, Spotify, and of course on YouTube. Please subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. I will be back, of course, next Wednesday with Wet Wednesdays and some more topics for us to tackle. I'm happy that we actually got through both topics tonight, which is fabulous. If you want to email me, if there's anything in particular you'd like for me to cover as a topic, you can email me at thepumchronicles at gmail.com. And that's pretty much it. I think, thank you. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. You're welcome. Anyhow, thank you all. I appreciate everybody being here. I know you guys are like kind of winding down with the last bit of comments and conversation and what have you. So I'll leave the chat up for a little bit until it runs out and y'all can chat. And I'm just going to sit here. What are we talking about? Sabertooths and beasts? What? What's going on? What did I miss? Those are my favorite guys, but nah, fuck that. I don't even know where this conversation went and what direction it went into, so I'm gonna just leave that there. Are we talking about men with hairy chests, that they're like beasts? Like the saber tooth? Is that where this conversation went? Oh my goodness, you guys are terrible. Okay, I got it. Some men are just born naturally hairy, and really and truly, there are some women who like that kind of thing. There are some women who like men with a lot of chest hair. And then, women like myself who are not particularly fond of it. I prefer like a more smoother chest. Like if you've got 1 and 2 hairs, I'm not going to bitch about it. If you've got, like a patch of hair, that's okay. For me, the issue is when it starts to be like all across their back and all down. When it starts to look like a sweater, yeah, then we have a bit of a problem. Like I said, one person that I used to date years ago, like almost 20 years ago, he would shave. And I never noticed it because when we first started dating, he never really had any. And then one day I realized, like, I'm saying to him, like, what's all the stubble on your back? He's like, oh, like, I have to shave my shoulders and my back because I grow hair. And this is a black man. Okay, so it's crazy, right? I always thought that was like a white European thing. I did not know that black men could grow hair on their shoulders. I was fucking floored. I was completely floored by this. I did not know that at all. But he told me, like, regularly, he used to shave his shoulders and his upper back and his chest. And I remember one time, there was like a product that came out on the market that was kind of like the hair removal cream, but you spray it on yourself a couple of times and it removes all the hair. And I was like, brethren, what is this? Listen to me. I learned some things in that relationship that I didn't know before. But you know what? It's also my own fault because I didn't pay attention to the fact that his legs literally looked like he had leg warmers from his thighs all the way down to his ankles. Like his legs looked like he had a beard, like a full length beard from his hips all the way down to. Anyhow, let me stop talking about the people them. But yeah, I'm gonna run. Oh my gosh, I hope you guys have a great night. And again, thank you for joining in. Please check out my YouTube, follow, subscribe, and share. There's a new episode dropping tomorrow and also a new podcast episode, and I will post and all that sort of stuff. So we'll talk to you later. I can never end this thing on time. What am I doing?